All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is Scott Langer, the new head coach of the Aberdeen Wings. And, Coach, there's a lot of buzz around town and a lot of excitement growing for the best fans in the NAHL about a coach with the level of experience and the success that you've had. Can you tell us a little bit about you, about your family, and are you familiar with Aberdeen and the area at all? And what are your steps in the next week or two?
Well, I'm originally from Long Island, New York. Obviously, I left there when I was pretty young, about 17, to pursue my hockey career. Spending a lot of time, 10 years in North Dakota. Then from there, I was in Chicago, Illinois, out to Santa Fe, New Mexico, Fort Worth, Texas, Topeka, Kansas, and now Aberdeen, South Dakota.
Quite the road warrior, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I totally enjoy what I do. Enjoy developing young men, young hockey players, and sometimes you have to move to a new city to do that. And I was lucky enough to meet a great gal here in Topeka. We got married on May 23rd of this past year, so I've been very fortunate.
Excellent. Well, we're certainly happy to have you. I know you played up in Bismarck and you had some coaching all around, and again, as I mentioned, that experience level and the success with over 437 wins, or exactly 437 wins. It's got, like I said, a lot of people certainly excited about your arrival. Coach, what can you tell us a little bit about your style of coaching, and what can we expect from a Scott Langer coach team?
Well, I like to really play at Northgate. I like to transition. I like to get the puck going north. I like a real attacking hockey team. Obviously, we're going to be responsible defensively. I take a lot of pride in keeping those goals against down and having a good penalty kill. But we really like to get that puck going north. And we need the speed to do that. We need the transition speed to do that. And we're going to have guys that play around that net all night long. And I don't know how that compares to what you've had in the past, but it's kind of what's worked here for myself and my staff. And the players seem to really enjoy being able to create and make plays and not have a guy that's going to jump down their throat for making mistakes. And I'm a big believer in you got to have struggles. You got to have struggles in order to overcome them and improve. And that's what we're going to do in Aberdeen.
Well, it sounds good. That's something that is often talked about, is kind of almost overcoaching someone to where the point where, as you said, they're not able to just go out and play hockey, that they're worried about making mistakes, and it kind of makes them play a little more tight than they would like to, and so on. So that sounds excellent. You mentioned a staff. Do you have a staff in place, or is that kind of in the works?
Well, I have our recruiting staff in place. That probably will be announced shortly. We are currently working on the assistant coach position. That's another position we'll probably have announced shortly. But we are working towards it, and we want to have good people in place, because when you're trying to build a winning culture, you got to have good people. If you don't surround yourself with good people, you're not going to be successful.
Yes, without a doubt. One of the questions that a lot of fans are talking about, and a lot of people around town that I've run into that recognize me or know that know my affiliation with the Wings, and their concerns right away are, well, what about the players? What about veterans and so on? Some of the guys that had that had planned on returning. Will you have some of the veterans back, or they have to go through camp and everything again, or even for that matter, some of the tendered players? Do you start from scratch, or do you kind of see what you've got and go from there?
No, I don't think you start from scratch. You're going to start with the returning players and the tendered players, and they all deserve an opportunity. Every year I've done this, even my veteran players knew when they come to main camp, they were competing for a job. And this way they didn't take the summers off and get lackadaisical. It's going to be no different in Aberdeen. And I think as a player, you shouldn't want it any other way. Expectations, you are a veteran player. You're going to be a leader coming in next year. You got to make the hockey team just like everybody else. But obviously, we're not coming in to try to completely, change the player personnel. Obviously, we're going to look to improve in certain spots, and that's why we're being brought in. But I think you'll see quite a few faces, that you're used to seeing.
Okay. Well, and, that's a very good point, too, that I think if a player kind of thinks they've got it in the bag and that they don't have to work that hard, they can get a little softer on the, in the off season and stuff. So it's a good idea for sure to have, the players competing and actually, like you said, earning that spot. There's a lot of challenges that for an incoming coach in that first year. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and it's hard to kind of gauge where a team is going to be in the first year. What do you feel are like some early obtainable goals that fans can be looking for, and things that where do you see the Aberdeen Wings in 8-9 months right now at this point? I know that's kind of a little bit of a difficult question, kind of out there, but
yeah, no, it's a difficult question just because you never want to set yourself up for any failure.
True.
You obviously want to work through the process of developing your players and get to the point where you're fighting for a top spot in the division. My plan is not to be fighting for a playoff spot. That's something that I'm not used to, and we're going to work towards, making sure we control our own destiny, and not have to wait for others to do us favors to get into a playoff spot. And we're going to train all season, and we're going to bring in the right players. And obviously, like I said, the returning players get the first nod at it. And if they do what they're supposed to do and work hard during the off season, they're going to be a part of it. If not, we're going to have to find the right personnel that wants to come in and help make Aberdeen a winning hockey team and have a winning culture.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. I talked a little bit about some of those steps, that as a first-year coach or at least, with a new team. What are some things, and what do you, if you don't mind, if it's not too intrusive, can you let people know a little, like, what are the steps that you're taking now? I mean, in the off season and so on. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm assuming, with the camps that are going on and all those kinds of things. But what do you see as the first things that have to be addressed?
Well, I mean, the biggest part of it right now is the recruiting aspect. Yeah. As a staff, we're really focused on the recruiting part. We still have some tenders to be signed. I'm a big believer in that it's the free agents you find along the way that really can better your hockey team, because, there's so many players, there's so many teams in North America right now that there's not a huge player pool. So you have to really dig in and use your contacts in order to try to get some free agents through this process. But the number one goal right now for us is to start building this hockey team, and putting the pieces in place. So when we do get to main camp in August, we hit the ground running, and we're a hockey team, and we can start training and getting into our system work and our principles, and get off to a good start. It's very important. In the North American Hockey League, as you know, you've been around, you've got to have a good start, because if you dig yourself a hole early in the showcase and early in the year, it's really tough to recover.
Yeah.
So it's baby steps, obviously, but the recruiting part of it right now is the most important part.
Okay. Well, and that obviously, a big part of that is going to be the pre-draft camp that you guys have implemented. Is that something that you came up with, or is that something that ownership or the Wings kind of did? Was that something that maybe was already in place ahead of time, or is it something that you decided you wanted to do?
No, they had it in place. It's kind of been a new fad, I'd say, over the last 3 years. Most of the teams in the North America League have gone to a pre-draft camp. Okay. Just giving some of these players an opportunity to get in front of the staff prior to the draft. But no, they actually had that one already booked, and I'm used to having one from my time in Topeka, so I think it's a positive thing.
Yes, without a doubt. The more chances you get to see these players, I would imagine, the easier it becomes. And I think it's an interesting point that you bring up, that there isn't a surplus of players anymore with as many teams as there are in different leagues and so on. Now, you are under your supervision or under your coaching, you've put over 200 young athletes, young hockey players that have committed to NCAA programs. That's pretty impressive. How much of your role as a head coach and stuff? Obviously, there's an emphasis on winning and on being successful, but that's a whole nother kind of caliber or level of success, in my opinion. How much does that mean to you as a coach?
It means a lot. It really does. And when you can finish your season and see a good portion of your players have moved on, and we're able to find a future in the game of hockey and get academics at the same time. I mean, that's exactly what a coach is there for. Obviously, we always want to win a championship. The goal is always to win.
Yep.
But along the way, your organization's always going to be looked at and evaluated on how many players you put in the school. And it starts from your recruiting staff. I've been very fortunate enough to have a staff that has found good quality young men, and then secondly, good hockey players. And if you get the right mix of players and they're good young men on and off the ice, and they have a lot of character, they're going to find themselves through hard work playing Division I college hockey or playing college hockey. But yes, obviously that's something I really would like to see happen for us in Aberdeen, is where we become a team traditionally known for putting players into college hockey.
And I would imagine that makes recruiting that much easier too, when you have a reputation for someone that is able to advance their careers.
Absolutely. We've utilized that over the years. That look how many players we've been able to help move on to the next level. Word gets out across the country. It goes quick in the hockey world, as you know. And more players are going to be looking to Aberdeen. The more players we put in the school, the more players are going to be looking, for opportunity to become an Aberdeen wing.
Okay, well, glad to hear that. Coach, you've been, up here in Aberdeen, I believe 2 years ago. Topeka and the Wings playing preseason games, and I think you've been up in the Odie during that preseason game. But what do you know about the fan base and the facilities and all that kind of stuff? Does that give you a little bit of excitement? Because I for one think that we have the best fans around, and they are faithful and rowdy and at the right times and support this team and like many others don't have that support. I don't think anyway, from what I see in other barns and so on around the division. But does that give you a little bit of excitement too, or are you familiar with some of the fan base and so on, or not?
I am, and absolutely, it makes us excited. Players always want to play in front of solid fans and a solid backing, and they have that in Aberdeen. When I was there a couple of years ago in exhibition, the suites weren't put in, and some of the additions weren't put in, and now I've seen pictures and. They've done an excellent job of making that arena one of the top places in junior hockey. Then you add in the support that the Aberdeen Wings have been able to be fortunate enough to find and to have. And, those fans have stuck by the Aberdeen Wings through a couple average at best seasons. And that tells you how prideful the Aberdeen fans are. And from a recruiting standpoint, you sell the heck out of that. Players want to be able to play in front of fans that are that rowdy and that supportive. So we are excited. And, obviously that really helps us when we get on the ice and gives us the energy and helps us get through and be successful.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, the fans. It's funny how they're as faithful as they are, and I love that when our fans travel so much better than most teams do. We could pretty much almost take over the Larson Ice Center in Brookings half the time, and even in Austin, just the final regular season games, we had probably 15, 20 Wings fans that make a 6-hour trip. So that to me says a lot about the fan base and so on. And I know, as I said, kind of to start things out, that many of them that are very excited to have you coming to coach the Wings and are welcome you with open arms for sure, and excited about the upcoming season. Anything else, Coach, that you want to add? Maybe that the fans can be looking for, and that I think you had mentioned that people are welcome to come to the pre-draft camp, or maybe that's not the case. I thought I had read that. But anything else that you want to add before I let you go?
Fans are always welcome to be at our camps, and to be able to help out there in those camps as well, and show the incoming players the prospects of how we do things in Aberdeen. That's outstanding. I am very fortunate as a coach to be able to have the opportunity to be in an organization led by such good people like the Odies, and to have such awesome, fans that are going to back you through good and bad. Me and my family are just really excited to become part of the Aberdeen Wing family.
Well, we're certainly excited to have you, and you couldn't, with best ownership in the league by far. They're, they are passionate about their team, and they do what they need to do to make sure everybody's comfortable and successful. So, again, Coach, I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with me here today and kind of let the Wings fan base know, as we'll have this up on the Wings website and so on. Give them a chance to kind of get to know you before you actually arrive. And best of luck coming up at camps and at the main camp, of course. And then we'll look forward to seeing you this fall. So, again, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.